for joining me today at Anaheim Rod and Custom. My name is Matthew Means. I'm standing next to a 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner that we have just finished. It's a beautiful car. It came to us on a rotisserie, completely disassembled, basically just a painted body floating in air with no parts, no suspension, no brake lines, nothing. And over the course of the last year, we have created this masterpiece that you see in front of you right now. It was a car that was being built by the owner's husband, the current owner's husband, and it at this point is a tribute to him. He passed away. His name was Tim. So when we got this vehicle, it was halfway through its process. Maybe a little less than half, because it was just an empty shell that was barely painted. Once it was brought to us, we went through all of his notes and parts and looked at everything just to make sure that we understand what his vision was. And then we proceeded to start assembling, building brake lines, building fuel lines, finishing putting the engine together, putting all the suspension and brakes on, et cetera, wiring. Pretty much everything that was required from that bare shell to get it to where you see today was all the work that was performed here in the shop. It took us about a year, which actually is a pretty aggressive timeline. There was, of course, ups and downs, and there was, of course, parts delays. The way that things are today, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that. For what we had to accomplish in the time we had available, I feel like it was a home run. It is a factory original color. It's sublime green, and it has a 440 high performance engine in it, correct for the year range. It also has a 5-speed manual transmission with a high performance clutch, and that transmission is a newer style high performance transmission. The suspension is stock suspension. It's upgraded with polyurethane, Moog, a little bit heavier duty suspension components. The rear suspension is like a heavy duty spring. It has traction bars and a built axle with a spool. So it is set up for drag racing. The inside of the vehicle is also set up for drag racing. It's got just 2 bucket seats, no back seat. We constructed some special panels and really went for a more finished look than you traditionally see in a race car, but without making it look like it wasn't a race car. We still wanted it to look like a race car. We just hand built some plastic panels in the back and kind of made sure it had all the door panels and it looked complete. So this is essentially a 1968, 1969, you know, the blocks are date coded for a range that's not necessarily a specific year, but it is a 440. It's been built pretty heavily. It's definitely got more than enough power to motivate this fairly large vehicle down the road. We really wanted to retain a almost stock aesthetic inside the engine compartment. We wanted it to look like almost a factory wiring harness and factory layout as far as the correct starter solenoids, and you know, just have the feel of what an original Roadrunner would look like when you open that hood, and or what it would look like if you had bought one and you started upgrading it. So it is a restoration, but it is a restoration with some mindfulness to some high performance stuff, but we don't want to push it into the future. We're not trying to put in a modular motor or an aluminum motor or something else. We want to retain that, you know, very classic aesthetic with that vintage engine is extremely important to us here. We have the MSD ignition system, the 6AL, with the Pro Billet distributor, a high power ignition system. You know, it's got a high performance carburetor, a larger than normal fuel pump. We did put a serpentine conversion on the front just to keep it simple, for a little bit of reliability. And it's got power steering, so it is a race car, but it does have power steering, power brakes, and some other things that allow it to just be a little bit easier to drive in general, because we do want to take it to shows and we do want to drive it around town. It's not just for racing, it's for fun also. When we were building this car, we were, you know, searching for that good balance between a, you know, factory race car, or I like to call it a door slammer. It's kind of the idea that you would buy a car new off of the showroom floor in 1968, 1969, you take it home, take the seats out with your friends, and you know, strip it off and soup the engine up and then take it down to the direct strip. And so it is like a very stock looking vehicle. It's a vehicle that's got all of its trim and all of its badges, and it looks complete in its sense that it's a stock vehicle, right? Even on the inside, we wanted to carry over that kind of look. Although it does have some performance seats, and it does have a harness, racing harness, and a roll cage. The stock dash is in there with a large tack added, stock door panels, stock armrests. You know, it's very, very much stock, and we're looking for a very finished look in the back area too, instead of just some open trunk area or like an open window into the trunk. We took the time to hand fabricate some plastic paneling and to kind of extend the carpet into that back area, and also put in the factory door panels and some other stuff, so that when you did look behind you, or you threw your bag back there, or you were driving around or taking it to a show, people could look back there and see something finished and complete. just to kind of pull the whole package together. As you can see, looking at the outside of the vehicle, I mean, this is a pretty vehicle. It's put together well, it's complete, it's shiny, it's like a brand new car. The underside is the same. Everything on the underside of this vehicle that you see was done in-house. You know, hand fabricated all the brake lines, hand fabricated all the fuel lines, put the full fuel system in, put all the front suspension on, put all the rear suspension on, assembled the rear differential, assembled all the brakes. I mean, we did everything from the front bumper to the back bumper on this thing and everything in between. All the wiring was done in-house. Not a single item was subbed out. And actually, we did do all of the interior and the inside in-house too. Normally, we would send a couple things out to the upholstery shop, but on this one, because it was a little bit of a simpler build, we simply did everything here. Kathie will be joining us shortly, and this is the first time that she has seen the car complete.
It's so beautiful.
It's chill.
I just did, yes. It is gorgeous. Hi, Matthew.
Hi.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm so excited.
Ready?
Yes.
It's a lot to just like look at all of a sudden.
Yeah, it is.
It is a lot. It's like all of a sudden, it's like a brand new perfect car.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Look how clean and shiny. You know, Robert, I don't have the exact specs on it. I know it's a 440 stroker. I do know that on the dyno, it was diesel torque and close to 700 horsepower.
Wow.
That's what the dyno said. Tim would be absolutely thrilled. We retired, and that was the whole goal. That was, we were going to travel during the summer, and he was going to work on the car during the winter, and everything was going to be great. Unfortunately, after that first summer of his traveling, he got diagnosed with cancer. And he had the car at the paint shop when he passed. And so he had done all the teardown work, he had ordered most of the parts. He had parts list, because even when he was going through chemo, he was writing down his parts list, because he just knew he was going to beat the cancer and finish the car. But yeah, so he worked on it, probably 8-9 months through the tear down, getting different parts, ready to go, and then getting it to the paint shop. And unfortunately, he never even got to see the color on the car. He picked it out, he had it bought, but his last vision of saw the car was when it was primered. So, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I really enjoy driving it. I'm surprised that I did as well, because it's been, like I said, I know how to drive a stick, but it's been 30 years. Yeah. Ever since I called and spoke with Matt and told you what my issues were with the car being half built but having half the parts, and from the moment I relayed my story, I got nothing but great positive vibes on what was going to happen, and you guys really listened to what it was I needed and were so willing to help me out, and it was great. And through the entire time, you've kept me informed. You've told me what's going on with the car. When there was issues, you let me know. I can't be happier with the communication that I've gotten. I'm totally thrilled with the car and the outcome, and it's been wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you for the experience.
Oh, it's an emotional car.
Tim would snore loud, but this car is louder.
In all honesty, I was totally lost. The car would still be sitting in a garage in parts, and I would be just devastated that it couldn't be done. If you've got a car in production that is not going well, or you're just not finding the time, or it's more than what you can do, gotta give you guys a call.